Hi, this is Dean from Swirl Soaps, and in today's video I am going to be making a mold of this rainbow lorikeet. I picked this up today. Beautiful. It reminds me of my childhood where I used to live. We used to feed these all the time, and they used to scream and carry on, but looking back on it, they're such a beautiful bird. I'm going to insert some photos right now, right here. So the way I plan to do this is I have a 1 litre container. The bird is going to be stuck at the bottom because the bottom will eventually be the top when pouring. So the bird fits perfectly inside. Now if I just filled that with silicone rubber, it's going to take a fair bit of rubber. So I've got these 2 buckets here, and these were silicone molds that I've made before. This was actually for a fishing lure. I've cleaned them all up, and I've cut them into little tiny pieces. So when I make my silicone rubber, I can tip this into it and it will fill up the actual container. Therefore I don't have to use as much. So basically I'm recycling. Now this bird does have a texture. It's really quite nice, but I don't believe that it's going to come off on the rubber. Yeah, hopefully everything turns out all right. So let's get to work. Okay, so my bird has been super glued to the bottom of the container. I tried to use hot glue. It didn't work for some reason. This plastic didn't take. I've got my silicone rubber. This is mold making silicone rubber. You can get this in different forms. I got this off eBay, but you can get this off Amazon, and I'll put a link in the description where you can get it. It's a different version than this. This is pretty much all silicone, and then you add 3% catalyst, and that makes the silicone. But you can get 1-to-1 parts, and most of those are in the United States. So I'll put a link to the Amazon below. Okay, so the second part of this is trying to work out how much I need to fill this container with. I'm assuming the bird would probably take up around about 1/4 of the space that I need, because there's all this over here that's just empty. So it's all going to be filled with silicone. However, I've got a couple of other silicone thingos that I've made and they didn't work. Also, when I go to pour, the container that I'm going to pour is going to have the real silicone. I'm going to pour over the top of the bird first. And once it's completely covered, right around the edges, then I will add these bits to the silicone and fill the rest up. Because I want the bird to be really smooth. I don't want it to have like these chunks sitting on it like that. Okay, so I've added 300 grams to this. Also note that silicone is very well known to have bubbles. So tapping it on the table initially before you add your catalyst is probably a good idea. I'm also working on some baking paper, so if it does spill I can just throw the baking paper away. So for our catalyst it says 3%, and that's pretty much what we're going to use. So we've added 300 grams of the silicone, so we're going to add 9 mils of this, or 9 grams, and that should make the silicone. But because this is clear, this particular one is clear, one that you buy from Amazon will probably not be clear. So when I mix it in with the silicone, I won't even know that it's actually changed and it's all merged in. So what I'm going to do is use some mica. So I'll put the 9 grams in this little container, I'll add some mica, mix it all around, and then I'll put it into the silicone. And what that will do is show me that it's turned pink. If there's any white left in the silicone, I'll know that it's not been mixed with the catalyst, and it won't harden properly. It would just be like a soft, gooey silicone rubber inside the mold. So I want to make sure that everything is being mixed in properly. So I have my 9 grams of catalyst, and this is called Cherry Blossom. It's Mica Pink from my Mica Obsession. I'll leave it in the link in the description below. So we've got our catalyst, we got our silicone rubber, and now we're going to mix the two. Okay, so from here you just mix it in. This takes a few minutes. So you can see on the side here that it's white. See that piece there? So that I know that that's not mixed in, and that's why it's good to have a mica color in there so that you know that it is all mixed in once it's all changed to one color. Okay, so I think we're pretty much done. It's nice and gooey, see that? It's sort of like honey. And that's the consistency that we really want. We don't want it any thicker than that, because this will thicken up pretty quickly. Okay, ready for the pour. I'm just going to bang this down on the table so that I get all the air. So you can see all those bubbles. I happen to have one. It's just a little craft heat gun. Turn it on and it pops all those bubbles. All right, I think we're ready to pour here. When I pour this, I'm actually going to pour it above the camera up here, because I want this nice long string. You'll see it in just a second. And when you get that nice long string, you don't get any bubbles because they pop as they're coming down. So in 1, 2, 3, here we go. See how it's a nice, just a string, and there is no bubbles or hardly any bubbles in that string. If I just poured it straight in, there would be bubbles everywhere. So I'm just going to pour it gently over the top of the mold. Let it drizzle down onto the rest of it below. There's a couple of bubbles forming there, but that's okay. I can hit them with the heat gun in just a second. I just want to make sure that I've got majority of the bird. There's a little bit underneath that, which I'm not going to be able to get to unless it slides down. Okay, so for the most part, this is covered. And I'll hit that with a heat gun. Pop all those bubbles. Okay. Now what I have remaining is a lot in here. Now I'm going to add some of these to it. Add a little bit and then stir them around. Get them all covered. Add a bit more. And you got to do this reasonably quickly because this is starting to harden up now. And now I can just pour them in. Hopefully that will go in. Yep, there we go. And while that's going in, I might just add a few more to it as well. It will seep through. I'm definitely thinking this is not enough, so I'm going to have to make some more silicone. Okay, so that was definitely not enough. So I'm going to add some more to this and finish this off. All right, so we're just going to tip as before over the top of the bird, nice and light, like just a string. Just to make sure that the bird is completely covered with just the silicone, not the little bits and pieces. Down there as well. Okay, so this was a bit of a mammoth of a task. Okay, so realistically, I underestimated how much silicone I needed because that container is now full. I wasn't anticipating the fact that the bird's head was almost the height of the container, therefore the silicone needed to be above the head. So you can just see it popping through there now, but I think it's enough to fill it. I might put like an extra bit on top right now just to make sure, just silicone, so I can cover all this, and when I tip it upside down it's flat. But apart from that, I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, so I added an extra 100 grams on the top. So I'm not even sure what the calculation of this is at the moment. I think it would be close to 1 kilogram. So 400 of this, little cut up bits, because there was 2 tubs, and 300, and then another 200, and then another 100. So we're talking we're talking about 1 kilogram of silicone. However, if I didn't use those cubes, then I would have used 1 kilogram, a whole container of silicone rubber, compared to only 600 grams. So it saved me 400 grams. So this will be set tomorrow. I'll unmold it and we'll see how it looks. Getting this out of this container was a nightmare. Because I'd stuck the bird to the bottom of the container, I couldn't get the bird out, and the bird was embedded in the silicone. So I had to break the bird. Birdie died. So little bits and pieces. The good thing is the silicone worked, and it looks like it's a really good mold. So I'm going to give it a try now and see what happens. And I've had to cut down the side here because I'm eventually going to have to get the bird out in the soap. So I've made another little cut over this side so I can pull it apart and pull the bird out. But to pour this back in, I don't want the soap to seep out these cracks. So I'm just going to put some rubber bands around them, and that should hold it in place. So I'll come back in a second when I'm about to pour. Okay, so it's been a few hours and I'm going to try and take this out. I hope this works. Ha ha! That's still very warm and very soft. But it didn't turn out too bad. Got lots of detail right down to the tail. Yeah, very cool. I could see a couple of maybe cold process soap like this, where they could just sit on the bathroom windowsill or something like that and just give off fragrance. I think that'd be cool. Very cool. So there's the original. And then the molded version. Yeah, cool. It's got quite a few bubbles in the entire thing, but I think that might be because it's actually in the mold. I'm really happy with that. So if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, and thanks for watching. Quick question, would you like to see a video of me painting this bird with mica? Let me know in the comments below.